So I have said, I have said, maybe Jesus Christ or somebody said, when you say move, the mountain will move. And several times people would say, well, show me. If you can make the mountain move, can you show me? And so I'm going to show. I'm going to show tell this mountain to move, and you will see the mountain move. But I have to take you to the frequency where you can see this. Okay, otherwise the mountain will move in my reality, and in your reality it will be the holographic appearance of whatever you believe is true. So take this journey with me in order to believe and then see. When you believe it, you will see it. So here's the thing. If I'm to prove to you that when I say move, or you say move, or whoever say move, because there's nobody here, then the mountain that is not here is going to move to another place in this imaginary space. For you to see, for you to believe, you just have to understand this thing. That there is no actual person that can believe or disbelieve something. That the experience of you feeling that you're believing, having faith, or the experience that you're in disbelief and you don't believe something is possible, is a simulation within your soul bubble, which is a virtual reality bubble, which is a simulation. Your soul, your very persona, is a simulation. So within the simulation, you're seeing some things according to your individuality. Your individuality is a simulation. And to your individuality, something is true or not true. And what you believe, you also project. So you experience that within your dream. And then the mountain is really like heavy and it does not want to move. And you might want to move it in some linear fashion of your intellect, which is your ego, which is part of that simulation, a subset of that simulation, which says, well, we have to dig a tunnel, or we have to blow up the mountain with some dynamite, or in another way we need to kind of do something with this mountain, like it's a Minecraft, you're in a video game and you don't know, you can reload the map, you can shift pixels, you can like turn off the computer, you can turn on the computer, you can load in a different map, you can go into map editor and you can just move things around. You're really immersed into that little character running in the scene, starting to believe that you are that, and then you're also believing that you have beliefs or disbeliefs, and none of this is real. Because the character is not real, and even the soul container of the virtual reality of that character is not real. So who are you that is experiencing all of this shit? You're that subtle freaking nothing. And to this nothing, everything appears. And there is no other than this nothing that becomes the one self in its own dream, and then by iterating, by copy-pasting that one self into many, many mirrors, it has many, 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 many different perspectives, and by throwing some Shakti smoke on those mirrors, which is a code, which is a simulation, we all become different individualities that move around this reality pretending that we are talking heads inside of a world with beliefs or disbeliefs. But there is no talking head because it's smoke on a mirror. There is no mirror because it's imagined by the first self, so it can multiply itself. There is no first self because it's created from the nothing. Now, of course, all of this exists as an experience, but it does not exist as something that anybody like needs to believe or disbelieve. It's just smoke appearing on a bunch of mirrors, which are all imaginary. and the experiencer of all this is also imaginary. So there's no one to persuade, there's no one to manifest something, there's no one to believe or disbelieve something. So if we are like a character in a video game, let's say, let's go to, I don't know, GTA, that's a very popular video game. So you're like a guy going through imaginary city inside of the computer, and there are missions, and you can like steal a car. And then you can say as that character, I just manifested a car. But if you zoom out, the car was already there as a potentiality of that video game inside the screen, and you're a little dude running around the screen, and then you get in the car on the screen, but outside of that there is somebody playing that game. That would be your higher self, I guess. But that higher self is in another computer or a larger portion, because that GTA is a subset of this reality, and this reality is a subset of that reality. Ultimately, it's all projected from one infinite point of creation that is imagined. And that infinite point of creation creates everything, so there's already a computer within all the cars in the computer, all the plots in the computer, mountains moving in the computer, everything can move on the screen because it's arranged in some kind of way, but also there is some kind of structure to that arrangement. When you are in the video game, you're walking on the street, your little avatar in the computer does not fall through the pavement unless it finds like a hole, and then you climb in that hole. Now you're in the underground. So in the computers, things are designed a certain way. Now, if you would be completely outside of that computer, then you're also the one that designed the game and put all the maps together and everything that exists as a potential experience of these video game characters in the computer, and the maps and the mountains and whatnot. They are arranged by you in some preset fashion, but also you have every probability and possibility to rearrange this in any type of way. So you are what we say omnipotent, because you're really playing with the construct of your imagination. Now, if you would have intervened with the map editor and shuffled some buildings on that map that you are driving your little character through, to that character that is immersed into that world and exists within the screen of that GTA or some other computer video game, it would just seem like a cling, and there is a different arrangement, it's a different level. Now the level is different, because the building was here and the building was there, and now click, when the thing is reloaded and on the screen is just a rearrangement of pixels, then now it's a different arrangement of buildings. Would that video character even notice that? Because the memory of that video game character would be updated too. So if there was an update of the video game, we would simply not even like notice or remember a different timeline. It would be just like a collective quantum jump to a timeline where we all inhabit memories of that timeline. So as video game characters, we might have changed realities without even knowing, because our memories are also updated, right? It's like movie The Matrix. Somebody erases your memories that you have been in a pink city, and they make the city blue, but they load you a set of memories that you were in the blue city all along. As a video game character, you just remember that you existed in a blue city, right? And there's somebody designed, like in the movie Matrix, there's somebody designed your memories. Now, if you're thinking that somebody is like keeping you in a virtual matrix, there's nobody other than self. There's nobody other than you. There's nobody keeping you here, because ultimately you are not the video game character. And then yes, you are the higher self playing the video game character, but that is played from the higher self, which is played from the higher self, which is ultimately played from the one, which is ultimately imagined by the none. Now, when you realize that all of these perspectives exist as different dimensions, and that you as an awareness can observe things from the perspective of the one or every subsequent manifested dimension of experiencing reality, then you might find yourself really needing to physically move a mountain if you're observing from a station of identity of that physical self, which is the video game dude. Super Mario needs to jump over the hole, or if the Super Mario goes into the hole, then he dies. What to? He reincarnates and then he needs to jump over again. And this is what happens in this reality, but you kind of don't remember that what happened before the incarnation, because you were not on the screen. You were not Super Mario. You were outside of that screen. So you were in a dimension above. But in that dimension, you were in a more expanded reality, where you are choosing what game to load and programming the game and then becoming that avatar and experiencing that world. And ultimately all these metaphysical levels are just like world upon the world upon the world, and then in between all the worlds there is the emptiness, and then there is this ultimate nothing in between everything that is the only substantial thing, because the worlds, they can be programmed and constructed in many ways. So in every subset, in every perspective, in every dimension, subsequent dimension of manifestation, if you are in that constriction of that reality, then you cannot influence the world from above. It looks supernatural, it looks like a superpower. If you trace your awareness back to the beginning, then you are beyond all of these dimensions. So now when you say move, the mountain moves, and instantly within this video game construct the mountain moves. Now, can I persuade your intellect to believe this, or your subconscious beliefs to shift by this transmission? It can be an activation of your subconscious if you allow it to be, but I will tell you a way to allow it to be, because I cannot persuade your video game character intellect that pertains to the knowledge of within the world, within the holographic construct, within the video game. Everything that you know, your name, your last name, your parents, your beliefs, your nationality, your sex, your gender, and like your beliefs and whatnot, is energetic memory of a video game character. So to take the perspective outside of this, you have to die. And then once you die, whoop, Super Mario is still here. The dream goes on, but now you have the perspective beyond this world. And then you can die to that perspective, and you have perspective beyond that world. And when you die to that perspective, you have the perspective beyond that world. And you can allow the ultimate perspective into your awareness right now at any given point, because there is only right now, and all of the space-time is holographically animated within these simulation bubbles, and their subsequent simulation bubbles. And all of this is an appearance. All of these are imaginary constructs. So you, because you are that first self that multiplied itself into so many smoke and mirrors and is experiencing this world as everybody, you allow yourself to be immersed in your virtual reality, and therefore you will not vibrate with this unless you start asking yourself questions that vibrate with this. Now, if you ask yourself those questions, you're vibrating with this, and what I'm saying will resonate with you. And now you know that all the time you had the keys to get outside of the computer simulation. But you also allow yourself to be immersed, so you sort of just remove the keys from right in front of your face, so you wouldn't ruin the thriller of this imaginary experience. And if you want it to be liberated, and if you pray to God or whatever was the creator entity, your higher self, that put the consciousness into the Super Mario immersion, then that would have elevated your perspective back into the first perspective, or zero perspective. So that perspective of the absolute self was always attainable to you. You were just playing and you didn't give a fuck about it. Now you give a fuck about it. Now you can say, I allow that perspective. Hey, Omni, Self, Absolute, 0 point, whatever, Brahman, show me your perspective, reveal that perspective. So ask and it shall be revealed. The rule is simple. Nobody's asking because everybody's having fun being somebody in the world of smoke and mirrors. Being those assumed somebodies, they have beliefs or disbeliefs about something being possible, moving a mountain, and so they cannot move the mountain. As a person that believes that they can move a mountain by some type of magic, that person will hardly move a mountain. Maybe it will be find a way to do so by some kind of magic, which is coding the reality basically. Or the person has believed that the mountain cannot move, in which case the mountain will never move for that person. But here's the thing, the person does not exist, and all the beliefs and disbeliefs that pertain to the person, they are freaking imagined by the freaking imaginary character in the freaking imaginary world, Super Mario Land. So now you know that when you remove the person from the equation, there is only one self that is a representation of non-self, which makes everything pretty absurd, which makes all the logic of the Super Mario world pretty absurd, because it's a dream realm, it's a dream construct. And so at that point, when you say mountain move, who is left there to say that? I mean, Super Mario is apparently speaking the words within the simulation, but where are the words coming from? And who is there to impose any limitation upon that reality experience that is made of smoke and mirrors? Because the only thing from which everything is coming from is nothing. And then even if there are subsequent laws within the simulation, they are only governing the person that, or the Super Mario that is appearing within these laws, but these laws are not governing the self or non-self that is the origin of all things in appearance. Now, when you realize that there is no Super Mario, and that there is no mountain, that there is an appearance of Super Mario appearing to say mountain move, and the mountain appears to move because there is literally nobody to give a fuck if there is something possible or impossible. And then you have to be the observer that is beyond all of these phenomenal shenanigans. And if you are observing from this perspective, then here's the thing. Mountain moves. And if there is an apparent quantum instability or a glitch, let me go into technical scientific dribble, right? Because if I zoom out and I observe from here where I'm like this guy, nothing, and then I have this, right? And if there is a quantum instability, because nothing does not give a fuck about mountain existing, not existing, moving or not moving. And then on substations of identity, the person is running some type of programming that they're saying, oh yeah, like, cool, I don't exist, but like I want to exist because I want to still engage in this karma, whatever energetic memory that I need to play out. So that energetic memory is not in vibratory alignment that now the mountain moves. So there is like a belief coming from the vertical arrangement, and it's trying to like make me fly or whatever, mountains move or whatever. I know it's Super Mario, but in this uh, horizontal perspective, I'm like resisting that because I have different sets of beliefs. So not everything is coherently aligned for the smoke to move in between the mirrors and this arrangement of shenanigans to reappear in a different topological structure where the mountain is now over there, right? At this point, the only thing that is needed is coherence. So that means that every subsequent dimension from nothing into all the way into this depth of like Super Mario Land, that all of them are aligned so that the nothing can create through the first self and every subsequent station of identity down to this Super Mario self, and then everything to be updated in this dimension of experiencing where we perceive the mountain. And for that coherence, we need to put the person or the soul into a state of trance or surrender, and that can be done in many number of ways, but ultimately when this is practiced, then we can switch into I'm the illusion of Super Mario, drinking coffee and like not giving a fuck about like the world, playing video games or whatever, like reading a book, eating a croissant, and like doing all this like stuff, just like going around the 3D and just enjoying the Super Mario Land. And at will, to shift perspective and become empty and speak those words like nothingness itself is speaking through the vessel of Super Mario. Now at this point, it's not intellect needing to believe something or disbelieve something, because that word is the word of the omnipotence that is not affecting the world from with these like little tentacles within the game and with this talking head. That is not the place from which we are affecting the appearance of the world. The world is being affected from the infinite potentiality, with that word manifesting itself as one in the primordial self beyond space and time, and then down every subsequent dimension of smoke and mirrors into this creation. So that manifestation rearranges the dimensions of space-times and every subsequent arrangement within the space-time that we call the appearance of a timeline or topological appearance or whatever. And then in an instant, it is rearranged. Now, to have this coherence, the Super Mario and the God self need to be one, but sometimes when we want to ascend and we want to be one with God and we want to be, we are really taking a detour. Because, because check this out. There is then a person that needs to journey to enlightenment, and then that person needs to be on some kind of journey. And again, it's temporal, it's something that's positioned in an imaginary time to arrive somewhere. Instead, we need to sort of negate. Okay, we don't need to negate or anything. You can live whatever the flip. You can live whatever the flip you want, because it's all smoke and mirrors, and it really does not matter if you're having an ice cream or moving a mountain. The same, you're using the same level of manifestation. You are the nothing that's creating the infinite universe in which there is an ice cream and mountain moving, and it's just probability manifesting as like everything. Okay, so there is literally no difference to like riding a baby bicycle or a spaceship, moving a mountain, or having ice cream. It's all the same probability manifesting itself as like everything. There is no level of like how much of a wizard or manifest, like there is no one manifesting, first of all, or there is only no one manifesting. And there is only no one manifesting everything. And the Super Mario, if we are identified with the Super Mario intellect, it will be like, yeah, I can manifest an ice cream, but I cannot move a mountain yet because I'm not that powerful. So that's just an ego trip. Because really there's no ice cream or mountain. You see what I mean? If you can like believe there's an ice cream, it's just a repetition of an ice cream coming into your dreamscape and you getting used to it. And then if you're like getting used to mountain moving, it's gonna be same as eating the freaking ice cream. And for on another planet, you don't have ice cream, you're just moving mountains. That's like having a dessert, or you're like eating mountains for dessert. But you cannot even imagine, you cannot fathom an ice cream because it does not exist on that planet. So it's like a next level of manifestation. Yeah, we move mountains here, but we don't have the little ice cream with little cherry on top and the strawberry. Like that's like crazy. Like nobody can imagine that. Like we have no wizards that can like make ice cream appear. We don't even know what ice cream is. It's all potentiality. So the Super Mario intellect, which is the ego, is not at all to be involved with deciding if something is possible or impossible, because it's like that intellect belongs to a video game character that isn't real in the first place. So why would any knowing of that video game character really decide upon anything? It's just kind of like handy to have that intellect when you're like going about your little video game house and you know where you left the stuff, and you know that this is called text liner, right? Oh, can you hand me that text liner? I know how this is called, right? So now I can like go into the video game texts and I can highlight what sounds the best in the video game text manual. And so we're learning about the video game stuff, and then we're intellectualizing about the video game stuff, right? So we are broadening also this perspective to include that nothing is real. And there's nobody to say, yes, it's possible, or no, it's not possible, because if we assume that we are somebody and we hold some type of beliefs, then this is going to probably decide how the smoke and mirrors appear for us. If we zoom out of that somebody, realize we are nobody, then all of these beliefs are also smoke and mirrors. And all of them can be shapeshifted into any other organization of smoke. So to negate the person is really to just don't get involved with the rights and lefts of that intellect, because it just adds more calculation that's only useful if you want to go about the video game in a very linear fashion. If you're working in a non-linear fashion, then skip thinking about something and come to the awareness, come to the perspective beyond the screen, beyond the camera, beyond the observer. Now, when you are in that perspective beyond the observer, you are that omnipotence, and what is spoken from that place, it's shape-shifting the beliefs of Super Mario and the presented external reality of Super Mario. Therefore, when Super Mario speaks, move, the mountain moves. And now, let me tell you what this Super Mario, like, I'll give you a testimonial of the things that I've manifested and how I did it. But I spent also a lot of time just disappearing into nothingness. So I was very familiar with that space where there is no desires, because all desires, they belong to Super Mario. And when you are the self, the first self, or the 0 point or beyond, you're sort of really not really concerned about life and death in the video game. You're beyond that, transcendent, as we say. So it's sort of banal and easy to create video game stuff, because you already have the engine running the video game with all its quantum potentials, and you can just put more things into a computer simulation, and there's nobody to say no, and there's nobody to want these things or need these things or lack these things, but they're just there for whatever reason, because you don't know any better at these first two stations of identity, which is everything and nothing. You just want nothing and everything, and you have the potential to create that nothing or everything. So you try and you succeed. You really manifest nothing and everything. And this is how potent we are from that perspective. Now, when we zoom into Super Mario perspective, we are more detailed and sort of less potent. We're just then really sculpting that potentiality into something that's very neat, like building this amazing statue of an Ascended Master Snoopy that is crafted by a McDonald's corporation, and it is like something that needed to come into very, 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 very crystallized dimensionality, a little bit away from some dimensions, away from just being nothing and everything at the same time. Because when you're nothing and everything at the same time, you cannot fathom. Like, you can just imagine everything, right? But you don't know, like, it will become this cool. Now there are more dimensions here, so we can have objects in space and like experience of time, right? Which is like, wow. So this is how cool you can get when you're zoomed into Super Mario or zoomed into a human avatar, right? you can get very detailed with your art and like all kind of spectacles that are very into detail. So you're probably Luigi and you're a good plumber, that's Super Mario's brother in the Super Mario Bros. Or you're Super Mario and your brother is a plumber and you are a carpenter or something. And so everybody has a special skill that we are tuning into in this very focused immersion of the one consciousness becoming many persons or souls into in this zoom. Okay, we're zoomed in. And therefore we need to leave out the vast infinite potentiality, or we need to kind of like focus it into something very specific, and we can become very detailed. We can become like do this will hurt, but like like we can do like a fish voice from under the sea or something, I don't know, and make these amazing little devices and contraptions of devices and like scooters, like I love scooters and pizza and all this stuff, like coffee machines. I don't even want to begin with the coffee machines, right? So it's an amazing world of so many things, and these things are valuable because all of them are expressions of everything being manifested by that potentiality for everything, which we call no thing. And so it is. Now there is something important I feel that I just need to unload and open some space for this crescendo to come in, for this transmission come back into my human sensual experience. That's kind of like a really nice taste in my taste buds. Oh, okay, so I'm having like this subtle feeling that there is something really important left to say, and I'm searching in the void for that, and in the void there is absolute stillness, so there's like no reason for even like talking. Yeah. Oh yes, I mentioned the testimonials. So one thing about the emptiness, and when you become, when you relate, when you touch base with that station of identity or non-identity, when you're anchored there, it's sort of that like Super Mario becomes desireless. This is called the ultimate superpower, the ultimate city, being desireless. And it is so that really I would enjoy like watching a wall, and I simply wouldn't care about manifesting an ice cream or even moving a mountain or even like whatever, after it was simply manifested once, and like I saw it's possible and it was entertaining, and then it didn't really even come from Super Mario conspiring or the intellect or the ego conspiring to manifest something. It was just like a happening. But yes, that happening was an observation of how the reality construct works. So it's about learning It's not about owning a superpower, moving a mountain, and then like I'm coming here to boast my ego or something. That would be like ridiculous. But it's simply observing that reality is a construct and deconstructing that so we can be also free to play. So this is the reason of this transmission. And so I will say I manifested like a, what it was it, like 120 something million dollars of Monopoly money or Super Mario money or like Earth money. Well, it was dollar and it was euro. And this was really just an experiment because I was realizing that the space is imagined. So I would retreat myself into that emptiness, and then the space would disappear, and all of this stuff, all of this smoke and mirrors within the space would also cease to appear. At that point, it occurred to my Super Mario intellectually that if there is no actual depth here in which there are things, then there is a sphere which is a container of my holographic experience of things. And in that sphere, anything is possible to be projected. And so I will reframe the law of attraction to a law of projection, because there is no Super Mario attracting the mountain or whatever. This was a lottery ticket of so much money. Super Mario money. And it was not Super Mario winning the lottery. It was the Super Mario realizing that there is no Super Mario and then dissipating from the equation, and then the self-observing itself in a place where there is no space and stuff, and then coming into the avatar, seeing that if these tentacles and the talking head and this space that the appearance of this avatar is occupying, and everything in this space, Snoopy and all the rest of the things, are objects within imagination, and the space in which these objects reside is also imagined, then the arrangement of objects is purely fictional, and there is like a template, a recorded template that holds these objects in the appearance, which is also an imaginary template that is just coded within the screen. Okay, but so the screen is a holographic appearance, and the space is an appearance of the imagination, projected imagination of the will of that self that comes out of nothing. So that led me to an intellectual conclusion that Super Mario does not need to do anything in order for something to be rearranged or appear in this bubble that is imaginary container of this imaginary reality. By simple asking from beyond the screen, any arrangement of the screen stuff is assembled. So I have said, well, then from beyond this screen, let me put a winning lottery ticket, and then I went into the game and I checked the lottery to find like the big, I googled biggest prize or something, lottery, and it was 123 or 4 million euro. And I was already seeing the time traveling, the quantum jumps, and how there's infinite realities that can be sort of arranged into this time experience of this movie that Super Mario is going through. So that was not something that I need to practice to believe, because I already won or made money appear or whatever kind of circumstances arrange and rearrange. But at this point I already understood manifestation and already was without desire. The Super Mario, if there is a Super Mario, was sort of desireless and just the observer enjoying through the appearance of the Super Mario, the tactile and the sensual experience of the world. And so now I just realized that there's no space actually, and there is no time. So any rendering of the appearance of the arrangement of objects within this bubble container that is a simulation, that everything can be rearranged. So I said, from behind the screen I will put into this screen in front of my Super Mario a winning lottery ticket. The wind will put it in the lap of my Mario. And then I checked in the Super Mario Land. I checked from what is the biggest amount of Super Mario money, and then I said, from beyond the screen, put this into my screen in the way that the wind blows and paper falls into the lap of this Super Mario. And so when I take with my hand this paper, it is that ticket for that particular lottery. And so this is the key to manifesting. So that happened, like next day that happened in the Super Mario world. The wind or the paper, something happened and the paper was swirling, and then it fell into my lap, and then I picked it up and it was euro millions. And I didn't even really had a plan what to do with this money, so I never fucking did anything with the ticket. I just left. I was laughing because it was still, to my Mario intellect, this was still like amusing. It still is in a way, because it's just an exploration of reality. So I might still have it, and it might still be cashable or something. Like I really it must be in some of my notebooks, and I don't know if, like, see, I shouldn't even be thinking, like, I don't know if I can still cash it in or whatever, because there's a timeline, there's infinite timelines of whatever you create if you're not creating as Super Mario, if you're creating as that self beyond. So sure, yeah, I can actually make it appear tomorrow in one of my notebooks, and then call the people in the institution of lottery and get them to wire me the 120 something million euro, which is kind of silly. So, of course, it is at the same time that actual being that is actually the omnipotence that is creating all of these events in the Super Mario life does not really have any actual sort of clinging, or like it's a video game money, you know what I mean? Like, so there's no actual, like, it's kind of like cool, yeah, like let's experience everything, but it's like, who, there's nobody to give a fuck about that, about having or not having. There's nobody to have that money. Or like, it can be just something that plays out like an ice cream, and I can summon up the mood that is great to have it, and be like, oh yeah, gratitude, and let's have it. Or I can be totally indifferent about it at the same time, or I can switch these different moods, and basically upon also deciding on the mood of Super Mario, whether I want to find that and be happy about it and jolly about it and then go shopping with it or whatever, that will be like, okay, cool, yeah, let's actually like put some energy into motion and then experience that reality, or just like nothing matters and like kind of like dissipate into a type of not bad but nihilistic type of like whateverness, because you just don't care, you're just like nothing and everything at the same time. So like really you're not uh you don't differentiate particular like whatever preferences. And this is where it's good to have coherence between the actual Super Mario personality and the nothing and everything potentiality of the self. Because to really create the Snoopy, that personal preference need to come into play. That soul blueprint, whatever, it's not a fixed thing, it's something that's constantly evolving and transforming. But like you need this individuality to be deciding upon, like, the amount of money that you want to have, or uh, whether you just want to go fishing and enjoy the waters and the ripples on the water when you throw in the hook. And it's all like poetic beauty, which is sort of transcendent of any meaning, right? And even this, like going shopping, it needs to be like with $100 million, like going shopping, it needs to be for that poetic beauty of just like going for a dance. It's almost like abstract. The reasoning becomes abstract if you have reasoning that you're becoming attached to, that you think like you're better off with or without money, whatever. It becomes too personal, and that's a blockage to manifestation, because the person should just give a the Super Mario individuality, whether you are Luigi or Super Mario, that you want to be a carpenter or a plumber, right? Or like a lottery winner or a lover or a warrior or whatever. That is the specific, very focused into this miniature cosmos, very focused template that works with very particular things within this reality. And that is sort of complementing the absolute, because the absolute just wants everything and nothing in the same time. So it's pretty abstract. And from the absolute, the power comes to create whatever is created. But from the individual, a template comes of preferences. And through this template of preferences, we decide upon the realization of our humanly endeavors, right? So I'm like, I'm really either or, whether I want to find this ticket and kind of like go and get the money, because I can tilt it to be like 100% yes, or I can tilt it to be a 0% yes, or like complete indifference. With that being said, uh, uh, what I actually wanted to express in this transmission is that this whole journey of manifestation is the journey of becoming and unbecoming. Becoming the Super Mario, creating a decision, and then to actually live through that, through the manifestation of a reality that that decision created, one needs to become completely also detached from that, and then that plays out and it's just like an abstract dance. Well, this is just one perspective, one philosophy, and I'm sure you can manifest in many different ways, or subsets of like perspectives also work, but it's sort of this is sort of kind of like a total absolute perspective, then going into a very figurative perspective of the first person experience. Now I'm also kind of more fascinated with just the relationship between the absolute and the Super Mario, and ping-ponging these perspectives in the way that it becomes like very coherent game of merging, almost like such a fast ping pong between the absolute and the immersion in this talking head, that it becomes like in infused and immersed God self experience in the avatar, which is then interesting with every little thing, and like wherever you put your loving awareness, that thing becomes a beautiful experience, and it even does not really, like the 100 billion of Super Mario money can become like such an amazing journey, and then it can be like whatever for somebody else. And then I have these like beautiful flowers on my window, and if you put loving awareness onto these flowers, they become, wow, a universe for themselves, and they're then way more interesting than anything else that is highly appreciated in the Super Mario world, whether that be money or power or whatever. And then you may go into power, you may go into World of Tanks or World of Warcraft, and you can go into whatever. And if you infuse your loving awareness into that, every world becomes just an illuminated world, and there is no value ladder. They can say, okay, like it's better to like spend $1 million money than like $10, because it's really what type of emotional mood you invoke from the omnipotence to color that experience. Like right now, you could be receiving $10 and going spending $10 and having the best day of your life and so much gratitude and like emotional substance if you choose to invoke and project that emotional substance on this experience. And a lot of times we are trapped in these scales where we give some type of hierarchical superpower that we are projecting to millions of dollars, and then if we have $10 we are just like taking it for granted. But the mood and the quality of that experience can be the same. It doesn't matter the actual amount, that's just like a mental thing to always like try to multiply things up to the infinite, because it was what the mind does. And okay, so my testimonial. So I manifested like this mentioned ticket, and I manifested winning in a casino. And the timeline was prearranged. You just walk there like you're retarded, and like people just tell you play this game, and you put the money, and the money comes out, and there's no Super Mario getting involved. So you minimize the first person because you understand that the timeline is already prearranged, and you just have to do nothing, because it is not the Mario manifesting, it is the omnipotence arranging the experience for the appearance of Super Mario having the experience. So that's the way to do it. And then usually for me, as an individual with some kind of energetic memory of what I have been doing in the Super Mario world, I can say I have been quite neutral and desireless for some years now, and therefore I haven't really bothered to manifest a lot. But everything that I ever got excited about, it just came into the arrangement of this dreamscape effortlessly. And sometimes I would get frustrated by the loopings of time in which I would have the same experience over and over again. And at that point, I wouldn't use my mood of joy and some joyful desire that is arising to me, and I'm feeling inspired, but I would manifest out of frustration, because I would get tired of some looping framework, and I would get sick of it, and then I would get pissed off, and from this anger I would say, fuck this universe, like what the fuck is this, I want this instead. And that would be a very powerful manifestation, because it would just instantly reshape my looping experience of reality and subtract from this appearance of reality whatever was playing on and on in the loop, and it would insert something else instead. And this would be momentarily transformation of that anger into actually elevating that frequency into the frequency of pure inspiration, and just saying, fuck this, I don't want this, give me that. So I usually manifest when I get really bored or like tired of the looping, or if I have more sort of awareness of what is looping and how time flows and goes, and I'm just taking it slowly, then slowly I'm updating the mood board, and the old things are replaced by new things, and like relationships that are becoming like stagnant, all the energies that become stagnant, they become replaced with new types of energies. So I already put some things in the mood board, and right now I'm taking it slow, and I create this very long transmission for anybody out there that can benefit in any way from this understanding. And basically it is the understanding of the unlimited potentiality and the first person focused experience, and how these two correlate. And then if you want 100 million euro or whatever gold coins in Super Mario Land, there's no one to tell you no but yourself, but you need to go to that place of awareness where you don't mind saying that and putting that into motion, but you're also completely detached from it, and it can only come, the mountain can only move in the most effortless way possible. If you think you need to dig a hole or bring bulldozers or whatever, you can do that too. Then you will be moving the mountain from the within the Minecraft intellectual standpoint, that from that intellect that exists within the Minecraft. Manifesting is about things already being, the infinite potentiality already vibrating every kind of possibility in the infinite scope of things that already exist as a manifestation beyond space-time, and can change their arrangement in correspondence to your first person view, and you are viewing this first person from beyond space-time of where this person is moving through the video game. Where you are looking from is not within the screen, you are outside of the screen. So voila, I hope you have fun.